Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. I'm Martyn Warwick. We're here at ONS, Open Network Summit in Silicon Valley in California in the US. And I'm talking with Craig Elliot, the CEO and co-founder of Pertino. I don't know Pertino, Craig, so let's start by asking what the company does.
Yeah, Pertino is a new company that we've just developed that really builds networks in the cloud. So we actually build the networks themselves using cloud-based technology. Our theory being is that everyone's mobile all the time. We all have devices in our pockets. We expect to be connected constantly. So building networks in the traditional way in the closet or in a data center really doesn't make as much sense as building them where the traffic actually is in the cloud itself.
What about NFV, Network Functions Virtualization? Are we seeing now reality obtruding into the hype? Is it becoming real?
I think so. And I think that those cycles are almost natural and they have to be that way. There's kind of an academic exercise. There's people going through the process. The actual implementation with real customers, that's where it gets challenging. One of the things that we've done at Pertino is to really take a lot of the SDN philosophy, build that into a service that we can deliver to end customers, so we're not quite as reliant on having everybody agree to all the standards to begin with, and we'll start to build those in as time goes on.
Would it be possible without the cloud?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look at it, there's two ways to look at it, from the technical side and the economic side. The technical side, perhaps you could get there building your own data centers and working through those issues, but the economics doesn't allow it to happen. When we were looking at the cost models, when we were building out the original business plan, Amazon was kind enough to cut their prices in half again, lowering our cost of goods to deliver services to end customers, over and over again.
What do you provide to your customers?
Well, we actually build a control plane in the SDN philosophy in the cloud itself.
Yep.
We also build a data plane in the cloud itself. And we have, we would call them our tunnel servers or our cloud vSwitches all around the world. So a small or medium enterprise anywhere in the world can basically log on, enter their credentials, a way to pay me, and can create a network just in less than a minute. And that will happen anywhere in the world that they happen to be. So if I open my laptop in London tomorrow morning, I'm connected to my network and I look as if I'm sitting in my office. All my resources are there.
A lot of the emphasis in SDN has been on the big service providers. SMEs are not exactly the poor cousins, or they have less money, but they do tend to be an afterthought in many of these things. Is that the case with Pertino?
Well, we actually think of the small and medium businesses as the proof points, because ultimately those small and medium businesses and some of the larger enterprises are the customers that the service providers and carriers actually serve. So our goal is being a bit early to market with this is to prove it with the end users, show the value proposition there, and then let the service providers notice what we're doing, and we'll work with them in the future.
So let's talk more about these SMBs, or SMEs as we would say in Europe. They're building their software-defined enterprise networks in the cloud. It might seem a strange question, but do they know what they're doing?
What's interesting is, although we're happy to explain it to them, they don't need to know that. And that's kind of part of what we do. The SDN architecture is not only able to deliver a wide variety of services to customers, but it actually has the ability to sort of abstract the complexity from the customers. So now customers can very simply spin up what historically would have been complex networks requiring command line interfaces and, as we say, a PhD in TCP/IP. They can now do that very simply and easily and get that Fortune 1000 or large business class network down to a smaller medium business.
What about the SMBs then? Where will they make their money as a result of what you're doing?
Well, one thing is our cost of goods is remarkably low using cloud-based infrastructure. Using a control plane and data plane, we only spin up resources when necessary. So since we're not paying for those resources that aren't being used, the service providers themselves, they don't have to pay for those resources either. So that's one place. The other place is just having the connectivity that historically they haven't been able to use. So they can now operate like a larger business than perhaps they are, work with resources around the world without having to have a capital expenditure, buying $30,000 worth of equipment in a rack just to have a good network.
What about standards? Because a lot said about open source and open standards, But we know from history, all of us, that when you say that, eventually it accretes over the years, and then there's a wall around it, and it's not open at all.
Right. Everybody has their own standard, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the joke in the industry.
Yeah.
And we really believe, though, with SDN, that fundamental architecture, that there's really places for standards. You know, in our network, we not only build the network and the connectivity and secure connectivity for our customers, but we also insert network services, visualization, security, optimization, control, and we won't do all of those things ourselves. So when we see it, we think, you know, that's where the standards really start to make sense from our standpoint, because then we can provide APIs and open APIs so other vendors can incorporate their services into our network.
There's a lot of emphasis on the benefits of network functions virtualization rather than SDN. Do you think the day will come when the NFV tail will be wagging the SDN dog?
So a good question. I think that a lot of people see with NFV, they see some real economic value, quick economic value, and it's frequently a driver. We actually look at it slightly differently. Since we actually build the services in the cloud itself, we can spin up NFV services, or as we like to call them, NSV services, network services virtualization, to take the services out to where the customers are.
Interesting stuff. We'll see what happens in the next one. I hope we meet again at that. But until then, Craig Elliot, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.